Hey, what's going on, fam? So as you can see from the title of the video, I'm going to be discussing a few topics, which obviously I'm going to get to in this video. But the first topic I want to address is the Boyce Watkins tweet that you see up on your video. Up on your screen in this video. So as you can see, there's a Boyce Watkins tweet that says, warning, any intelligent black person who visits Ghana for more than 30 minutes is going to want to move away from the U.S. forever. Now, this is Boyce Watkins now trying to get on some sort of babble bandwagon. And as those of you who have been listening to my videos in the past, you know I don't trust Boyce Watkins. I kind of don't like the dude, and this is the reason why. Is because this dude puts out a lot of confused misinformation. And even though some of the stuff I can't even remember that he said or done to be suspect, I can give an example. Like I know at one point he was shouting out Jason Whitlock, who's a major coon, a major sellout Sambo. That's suspect that you're shouting this dude out or giving him props. Um, Stuff like this tweet, other things. You know, the fact that he's always bringing suspect people into the mix. I mean, Yvette Carnell is starting to look real suspect with her down ballot talk, but not only just Yvette Carnell, people like Michi X, people like Cynthia G, a lot of these people like Vicky Dillard, who's also coming off as suspect, people who have these criminal records that point to the fact that they may be an agent. Now, just because you have a criminal record doesn't mean that you're an agent or that you can't turn around your life and that you're not genuinely now pro-black. But a lot of times when you have a record and you're a disruptor and you kind of came out of nowhere and you have a criminal record, these things are suspect. Vicky Dillard claims she was a political prisoner. That's a lie. She went to jail for being a mortgage fraud scammer for some kind of Christian church. So she wasn't doing no kind of political prisoner stuff that she claimed she was doing. So she's dishonest. Like I said, Michi X has criminal record, and so does her damn children. So it doesn't seem like she was able to raise children who aren't criminal, which I'm sorry. Normally I wouldn't speak about children, but in this case, it's kind of appropriate, in my opinion, because it kind of shows the type of people that you raised and the type of environment or condition that you raised your children in. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes you can't help that they got caught up in criminal activity. But the long story short is, um, Boyce Watkins is always the source of suspect people. So not only does he say suspect things, he's always the route for suspect people to be in our mix. People that end up turning on him along with other people. Um, but anyway, that's just me saying some of the other reasons why I don't trust Boyce. But let's go ahead and talk about why this tweet itself is problematic. So we all know that when we started this mission of lineage-based politics, that we had given up on Panbabble, that these African countries have not offered us any significant refuge. All they've offered us is tourist packages and tourist type things to be able to come back. And if we did come back on something on a more serious tip, there's some tourism stuff. There's no help. We're an immigrant. The immigration process is usually a lot harder in these countries than it is in America. For example, Ghana, they have been claiming to be open to African Americans for a long time. But the original plan that Kwame Nkrumah had for us, the man who was a Pan-African, who started the whole African Americans come to Ghana type laws and programs. His vision was that we would have land and housing and resources to be able to come over there with to build something and not just come over there trying to start from scratch with nothing, and we can't even get our citizenship. It's still very hard to get in Ghana. That's why I took Rita Marley, who was the spouse of Bob Marley, Rita Marley. It took her 20 damn something years. She moved to Ghana and it took her 20 something years to get her citizenship, even with the Right to Abode program. The only thing that the right to Abode program does is it says that you are able to stay there and live there without getting deported for as long as you want to. And that law has now been opened to non-Africans. So that's not even or non-African Americans. So that's not even for us anymore, that right to abode law. So these people have totally abandoned us, totally left us stranded because they don't believe in panbabblism, which I've already discussed in my panbabblism videos. They have given us no refuge. So for Boyce to be talking this stuff, this is him basically pushing pan-babbleism, tourism type stuff, and it's not appropriate and it's off code. And I just wanted to point that out. Let's not fall for it. Ghana's talking about if you visit Ghana for more than 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you're going to want to live there forever. Well, Boyce, I need to see you up and moving there soon. I need to see you up and leaving America and moving to Ghana ASAP, if that's the case. But we all know he's not going to move there because Boyce, a lot of times, he just appears to not know what the hell he's talking about, and it's evidenced by tweets like this. But that's really all I have to say about Boyce, because there's not much to say except that he's wrong and incorrect for pushing this. It's also a little bit suspect that he's pushing this at the same time that the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, non-trustworthy, type Democrats are pushing. So I just wanted to point that out and put that out into the ether for the fam. So let's move on to some other topics. So let's talk about the fact that I just had to talk about Boyce. Yes, I know Boyce is an enemy of Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. Yes, I'm aware that I have had to discuss Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell and some of the suspect and questionable things that they're pushing lately. But just because I have to question them doesn't mean that I'm going to then turn around and support Boyce Watkins, even though he's doing suspicious things. And that brings me to my next topic, and that's maintaining your integrity. So part of the code is to not, or what should be part of the code that should be understood by black people, is to not sacrifice your integrity just to go against someone that's your enemy, especially if that enemy is another black person. Meaning that just because I have a beef or a disagreement with Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, that does not mean that I'm going to side with white supremacists or other black people who I believe are working in service of white supremacists just in order to be able to get at them or say something negative about them, which I don't see everybody doing. For example, I see certain people sacrificing their integrity in order to support this down ballot stuff because they don't like Tariq or Jason Black or anyone else who said something that they don't like or said something about Yvette Carnell and whoever that they don't like. So now they're sacrificing their integrity, they're sacrificing their commitment to the no black agenda, no vote in order to just be a fangirl or a fanboy, or in order to just help put out negative energy and put out negative things against the people that they don't like. I've seen FBA people do this. Or I've seen FBA people do things that are not appropriate in order just to get at Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. For example, that's another thing you don't do. You don't sacrifice your integrity in a way of not just siding with certain people, but also doing things that are unfair or inappropriate or do not prove your point. Meaning that you don't engage in ad hominem attacks. You don't lie on the person. You don't do these things just in order to put out that negative information. That's more so what I meant that I've experienced from ADOS people, is that they're lying on me just because they don't agree with what I said. So they will tell lies. They'll do things that are off code, that are doing things that are working with our common enemies just in order to get at me. For example, I saw the Pan Babblers do this. They sided with that Mark Thompson, make it plain, fake Pan Babbler, who they should know is an agent of the Democrats, but they were siding with him just in order to be against ADOS, despite the fact that he's a agent of white supremacy. They were siding with Talib Kweli and his ADOS's MAGA stuff, even though he was being an agent of the Democrats and white supremacy. You don't do these things just in order to get at somebody you don't like or you don't disagree with. That's off code. That's why I had to critique Jason Black. And even though I was thinking about making a separate video about this, I'll just say it now. When Jason Black attacked Tone Talks, he engaged in a lot of ad hominem attacks with the tongue tied and the mush mouth and all of that stuff. And me saying that without saying his name, when I did say it, it caused a lot of FBA people, or not a lot, but a few FBA people to turn on me. And I even had to block one of them. Because I don't sacrifice my integrity just to be on one side of something or another. I stick to the code and what I know is correct, no matter who's agreeing with me, whether it's somebody who I overall disagree with or somebody who I generally tend to agree with. If the person who I generally tend to agree with is wrong and the person who I generally tend to not agree with is correct in this situation, I'll make sure that it's clear that I'm only talking about this situation, But I'm still going to side with the person who's right, no matter who it is or the source, and no matter who's wrong. Because it's not right when people do it to me. It's not right when people come to me and lie on me and tell lies and misrepresentations in order to defend Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. But neither is it appropriate for us to tell lies or side with people who we shouldn't be siding with just to get at Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. And I'm saying that, or just to protect a Tariq Nasheed or a Jason Black or whoever. And that's the last thing I want to say in this video, because the pan babblers are trying to, or at least the one who was debating me was trying to question the code and saying, "Oh, you need a better code, and the code is not defined because we don't have the protocols like the pan babblers." Let me say this first of all: the pan babblers don't have any protocols that the Nation of Islam does not have, as far as being organized and having rules. I've been around the Nation of Islam, and I've been around pan babblers. With the amount of stuff that you have to go through to be in the Nation of Islam, the amount of organization, the regulations, the appearance regulations, the rules, the stuff you have to memorize. Long story short, the NOI is the most organized black movement there is. It's more organized than pan babblers, no matter how much they try to lie to prove some anti-ADOS point, which again folds back into my point about maintaining your integrity. You don't lie just to prove some point against someone that you don't like, which is what this particular pan babbler who was trying to debate me did by trying to tell these lies about all the protocols that they have when it's a non sequitur. It doesn't matter how many protocols you have if the thing that you claim the protocols prevent, which is division, is proven to be false. And that's proven by the NOI being the most organized and having the most protocols and the most regimented method of regulating the people who join them and the people who are operating under the banner of NOI, when they still have divisions galore. They have all kind of different NOIs, lost found NOI, Eric Muhammad's independent temple. They have all kind of divisions, and they're organized and protocol to death. So that's a non sequitur to claim that ADOS got divided because they don't have protocols. That's BS. If that was the case, then the Malcolm X Elijah Muhammad split would have never happened. The Khalid Muhammad Farrakhan split would have never happened. But I'm saying all that to say, the code is not something that's written down. Just like the white supremacists don't have a white supremacy code that they pass to each other that's on paper that they sign and agree to, even though they do have a code that they teach. It's the same thing with black people. The code, to a degree, is intrinsic, meaning you just know it, and you just know it by understanding white supremacy and what white supremacy is and how it works. And the people who are on code are able to point out when someone is being off code and why. But just because they're able to do that doesn't mean that there's a on code document that you sign and an on code initiation that you have in order to be on code. So for those who want to question what the code is and who's governed by it and what's being on code and what isn't, there's never going to be an official document. Now, the closest thing there is Neely Fuller's compensatory code concept, but even that I wouldn't say is just an official comprehensive list of what's on code and what's not. The code is in your heart, it's in your soul, it's something that you know once you understand white supremacy. And one of the things that you know and understand is that you do not sacrifice your integrity. And when you do sacrifice your integrity, you know that you are being off code. And anyway, fam, that's just a quick lecture from me discussing a few things. Basically, being on code, the pan babblers, and maintaining your integrity. But anyway, fam, that's another video. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.